Hello and welcome to the Celtic State of Mind Thursday Bulletin. You're probably wondering why I'm in the hot seat today. It's the Football Content Awards down south, so Paul is down there representing Celtic State of Mind. We've been a bit successful at those awards ceremonies over the last few years, so we're hoping to pick up something else. We've been trying to push the vote initiative over the last few weeks. Thank you to everyone in the chat that has got involved and has voted for us. I'm joined by Kevin Graham and JP. We're in the international break, which is perhaps not the time you want to be in for Celtic fans. No football. And even, I like to cheer on the Scottish national team. And they've already qualified, so it's both basically dead rubber games, eh, Kevin? How do you deal with the international break, no Celtic?
I dip my toe into international football every now and again. I think it's quite funny that we've got a game when you looked at the Scotland qualifiers that had potential banana skin written all over it away to Georgia in the second last game, and we're not really that fussed. We've already done the job. It'll be interesting to see what Steve Clarke does in the midfield tonight. I'll be interested to see if Greg Taylor gets any minutes, because obviously Robertson and Tierney are both out. So it'll be interesting to see what Greg Taylor gets. I dip my toe in every now and again. I go into the international weekend with great, like, I fancy watching that game, Then I end up watching hee-haw. Really. Or I watch 15 minutes of the games and go, all right, I'm away to unplug my sink or something like that, or like weed my back garden, or like, so there needs to be an emotional attachment. I've got an emotional attachment to Scotland, but all these folks say, did you watch the Dutch against the French the other night? I'm like, got no interest really. Tournament football is different, but when it's the qualifiers, I'm only Scotland.
JP, you got a similar sort of view of the international break?
No, I mean, obviously just miss Celtic, but I've got to Scotland games when I can. I was at the England game. Was it last month, the month before, when Harry Maguire was the pantomime villain at Hampden. But no, I've got a foot in a few camps. I could play for Poland, hence the strip over my shoulder. My mum brought me that back from a trip to Poland many moons ago. Euro 2000 on the sleeve. So I could play for Poland. So I just saw Poland are playing the Czech Republic in a fairly crucial game they could still get through. So I don't mind it. It's just finding the time to watch the games. Pretty busy month in November for work, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the international tournaments, as Kevin mentioned, it's completely different then when something like the World Cup, the Euros is on. But we always like to keep up what the Celtic players are doing over the course of the international break. Something we've been waiting for ages. It's finally come to fruition. Matt O'Reilly getting his call up to the Danish national team. He was called up late on in the last round of international fixtures, but a bit too late to really impact the team. He didn't get his first cap, but it could be the first real opportunity today. They've got a double header coming up. JP, do you think Matt O'Reilly should get a start for Denmark? Would you be excited to see him there? And I think it could be a real benefit for Celtic as well. Not only because we're seeing the interest that's starting to come in surrounding O'Reilly's name, like you could really drum up the transfer value if he starts to become a regular feature for the Danish national team as well.
Well, I don't like to think about a Celtic world without Matt O'Reilly, but it's probably one that is inevitable. I just hope it's not in the near future, and it's a wee bit further down the line, because I think he could still progress as a player under Brendan Rodgers, as he has done so far this season. The late call up, I think he was on holiday. He mentioned he was on holiday in Marbella when he got the call up last time and didn't get any minutes, but it would be great for him and for us if he did get minutes, because it's just always great when you've got international players, even though there's that risk of them getting injured and everything else, and the travel obviously can impact their season domestically. But you'd far rather that he was playing for the international team with us than getting snubbed and then having to look elsewhere, because that's always the worry with Scottish football, is that these international federations look down upon our league, which I'm sure Kev's thoughts on our league they might have some grounds to do that. But I think if you're good enough, you should be able to play. There's plenty of players that were playing in the past for Celtic that were getting international recognition when the league was pretty much the same as it is now. Maybe a little bit better, but there was always players getting call-ups before.
Yeah, there's when you're touching on players getting snubbed by the national team. If you go back to even the most recent World Cup, the Japanese manager snubbing Kyogo and Daisuke Maeda, getting not Daisuke Maeda, Ryo Hitati getting a call-up, and he had some choice words to say about Scottish football and the quality of it. So we know all about our players getting snubbed at that sort of level. One thing that caught my eye when I was looking at the players that have been called up, though, because we've not seen them at all for a Celtic shirt this season, Marco Tellio is representing the Aussie under-23s, which completely caught me by surprise. The only minutes he's had for Celtic was the Mikey Moffat testimonial. It was the Celtic B team playing against Ayr. So you're really scratching your head as to where is his part going to be this season, because we've had Leo Labada getting injured. We've now got Daisuke Maeda injured. He still doesn't seem to have a part to play yet, does he, Kevin?
No, it seems to be the Brendan Rodgers, you're going to have a long bedding in period, eh? And if you're no hitting the numbers in training, then you're not going to get anywhere near the squad. I think Rodgers has been quite open with the fact that he struggled to adapt coming to Scotland, possibly being injured, hasn't helped him at all, missing pre-season. And it could actually be, you could be looking at next year before you actually see Marco Tellio anywhere near a Celtic squad. If you look at the way our wingers are playing just now, it's difficult to see him actually getting in anywhere. It's probably good for him to go away back with the Australian under-23s. Back, well, I don't know where they're playing actually. If they're going back to Australia, some sun on his back, we run about, kick the ball about, just shows that the Australians are still thinking about him. But Rodgers has already says that, and this is what I think. I mean, everybody, it shouldn't be simple to come to Celtic Football Club and play. You shouldn't be able to walk in the door and adapt to it right away. It should be a challenge, especially the level of player that we sign. And it doesn't get me worried to see guys like Tillio nowhere near the squad at this precise moment in time. And Rodgers coming out and go, they're no adapting. He needs to adapt. I mean, even like Odin Holm and all of that, he's getting mentioned about he's taking time to adapt and he's going to need to get more games and that. These guys are long-term projects. These guys are guys that are coming in that we're hoping to peak about 18 months from now. And there is going to be a build-up to that point. And I think Tillio's probably paying for not having a pre-season. And that's why we might not see Marco Tellio at this point next year. And that's the only reason, is because he's not had that pre-season and the injury. But it's no surprise that he's still involved in the sort of Australian youth setup. And with Matt O'Reilly as well, O'Reilly's been steadily improving. The Danes are no snobby as some other federations when it comes to picking guys who are playing in the Scottish League. Obviously, the Danish Superliga is no. Is it the Superliga? That is the Superliga, eh?
I can't remember.
The Danish First Division, I'll go old school. They'll pick guys for Copenhagen and that as well. So the Danes are no as snobby as some other countries, namely England, when picking guys for the Scottish League. So well done to Matt O'Reilly. All it does is put a wee couple of hopefully knots on his transfer fee for us, and it's good for him. It does get some notice, and it means that he's probably out the door quicker than what we want to expect. But that's where we are as a football club, and that's hopefully O'Reilly maybe sees us building something. Nobody comes in for him, nobody offers the right money, and he fancies another crack at the Champions League next year. And that crack at the Champions League is not getting humped 6 times or getting beat 5 times and maybe getting a draw.
Yeah, we get so used to players coming in and going out the door so quickly that you're just sort of used to it. You're not really surprised when the rumours start to persist or come around anymore. Yeah. A final player I want to touch on who's called up for his nation at international levels, Luis Palma. I think part of the reason as to why he's been building up so much momentum over the last few weeks is because he's not been letting the performance levels drop when he's been going on his international duty as well. He's been playing every game for Honduras. He's notching up a goal contribution every game when he's playing for them. it's just been an upward trajectory, hasn't it, JP? We see it in the tagline there, how Luis Palma's immediate impact is softening the blow of losing Jota. Now, I've got an article in the pipeline for the blog. I'm not too sure when I'm actually going to post it, comparing the first few months of Jota and Palma, because I think they will be pretty similar. But it's a controversial opinion that people perhaps don't want to hear yet. But what have you made of Luis Palma's start to life at Celtic, JP? I think he looks like the new signing who's hit the ground running the most.
I look forward to hearing this controversial comparison with Jota that you've got ready to release. But I know with guys like that, they tend to be always a hit or a miss with Celtic, don't they? They're either the hero or they're a dud, basically. And
usually after 30 seconds, if you
I was up there thinking with Palma that when you spend a bit of money like that, invariably, and especially for an international player, it's kind of weird if they don't turn out to be pretty good, especially in our league. There's obviously outliers, things like Ajeti, Barkas. I mean, I can't remember if Ajeti is an international or a full international or gets game time regularly with the Swiss team, but obviously when they come in, you're like, right, they definitely are going to do well for Celtic, and then they don't. When he comes in, he is a bit. There's been that kind of chat about Palma that is like, why was he available for so much of that window, and why did he come in so late? And the speculation was that it was just a case of like, all right, there's a stack of players there that we've known about for ages. We've not been able to get anybody else, so we go to that stack of players and we'll pick one of them. And then there's obviously the chat of rejection elsewhere, which may or may not be true. Who knows when it comes to
that's where it comes for, JP. That's where it comes for. The whole world goes on the judgment of Michael Beale, and Michael Beale says he wasn't a footballer, so nobody touched him, and we just got him at the last minute because we were desperate.
Yeah,
that's me just wrote an MS. That's me just wrote a Daily Record headline.
chat that sort of chat bot system. I can't remember, was it called Chat GPT or something like that?
See, there's a Glasgow one, Glasgow Chat GPT, and it'll do you things in a Glasgow accent, and it's based for a wee guy I didn't ken. I heard it on Radio Scotland, and it's got a wee patter merchant attitude,
There's an off one, no?
I'm not for Fife. Well, how often are we going to have this conversation? I'm not for Fife. I take great offence.
It's a common misconception. But back to Palma, I think what you're seeing now is just somebody that's obviously getting confidence, playing in a new surrounding and with a new team and in a new country. And once things start coming off from him, especially at the top level, if he's scoring goals in the Champions League, which he has done now against Atletico Madrid, arguably against Lazio, but for the faintest flick of a boot, he's obviously, if he can do it, if he knows he can do it at that level, then Scottish football should be a walk in the park to him. Like it should be a point where he can showboat and he can hit outside of the foot passes inch perfect into like he did at the weekend. Like that's the kind of thing that confidence will come out of him as a result of doing it at every level for Celtic. So I don't think we're quite at the stage of maybe worrying about people coming to buy him off us for an exorbitant fee, but the more of that he does, then the likelihood of that happening increases. And again, you don't want to just start ushering players out the door who are just here, but I think we can safely say that he's nailed down a starting jersey, which was something that everybody was questioning whether or not he'd be able to do. We know when he arrived, and the start in Rotterdam was a kind of like, whoa, how's he getting a starting jersey? And then that's obviously based on what the manager's seen in training and his attitude and everything else, and that started to permeate throughout the last couple of months.
Yeah, how we went from talking about Luis Palma to Glaswegian Chat GPT. 10 seconds, I'll never know. But thank you to everybody getting involved in the chat, as always. Feed the Bear. I saw this one come in before the show, a £10 super chat. Thank you very much for your generosity. Jimmy
What was
Mack.
super chat though? What was his
No, he
question? What's his super chat?
Usually you didn't put anything. Usually you pay to make sure your message is seen, but that's just an act of generosity.
That's risky, that.
Thank you
very, very risky, that.
Jimmy McIntyre coming here. I saw the photo the other night. It's Luis Palma met up with Emilio Izaguirre over there in Honduras. Izaguirre, as he says, was Players' Player of the Year in his first season. Palma could be on the way to matching that. I think Mal O'Reilly might beg to differ, however. Danielle F. Last season, Jota had 43 games, 15 goals and 10 assists. Palma has 5 goals and 5 assists in 10 games so far. So it's looking like a really positive start for Palma, and he can strike a ball from 25 yards. There's a lack of that. I think the only other player in our team you'd really trust from long range was perhaps someone like David Turnbull. But, Kev, it seems like the new signings are starting to feature a bit more regularly, and they're starting to hit the ground running, because there'd been a bit of flip-flopping from fans on whether they were content with this transfer window. The main point that was being honed in on was there's a lack of European quality signings there. And it looks like Luis Palma is one of the European quality players. He's someone who's stepped up and made himself counted for when we have played in the Champions League. But it seems now, domestically wise, we are starting to see likes of Holm and Yang coming onto a game as well.
No, but I don't think Luis Palma is a European standard signing with what people were wanting as a European standard signing. Folk want a European standard signing, which is £10 million, 60 grand a week, who's going to walk in and make a difference. And our board are never going to actually do that. And I'm going to give them a bit of backing here. The reason that they only do it is because they players won't come to Scotland anyway. If you're going to buy somebody for 10, 11, 12 million pound, they're going to have other options, which are better options than coming to Scotland. So the board have got a certain, the scouting department can only go to a certain amount of players, and they're all in the gamble situation. And Luis Palma was in that gamble situation, and the same with Odin Holm. They fit a certain profile, and the players always had a certain profile. Where I would say that the board do lack ambition is trying to get us out the hellhole, which is Scottish football. If we want to make a decent effort in Europe, we need to leave Scottish football. As long as we're in Scottish football, we need to be prepared to actually give guys like Luis Palma, Odin Holm in that time to prove that they can actually play at a certain level, that they're a good enough level. With Palma, I mean, you could probably point to 4 or 5 weeks ago with folk were going, he's not the level needed, he's not the level needed. The boy was just in the door. He was getting up to speed with Celtic. As you say, the start in Feyenoord was a complete and utter surprise. But what I think he's actually handled better as the Champions League has moved on is playing in the Champions League than coming back to the drudgery of domestic football. He had a shocker against Ross County after a Champions League game, but then you look, we get humped off Atletico Madrid, and he stands out on the Sunday straight after it. And that's where a lot of Celtic players actually fail to pick themselves up and down for the levels that we've got to get to. Odin Holm as well, he was tidy on Sunday, nothing else. He looks a technically decent footballer. All of them that we've brought in look technically decent footballers. I think the last player that they've brought in, I went, he can't even trap a ball, was Giakoumakis. I remember I've called Giakoumakis a big donkey that after the first 45 minutes I saw him in the flesh against Livingston. I went, who the hell signed this boy? He looks like he's walked into the wrong form. He can't trap a ball, he can't do this and he can't do that. But then I was proved wrong with that as well. We sign a certain quality of player, and Luis Palma's made an impact because he's stepped up quicker than some of the rest of them, and he's impressed quicker than some of the rest of them. And he obviously mentioned the start in Feyenoord. He got that start in Feyenoord because he's banging out the numbers in training. He's shown that he's went up to that level in training, and there's some of the guys are going to take a lot longer to do that. And that's what we're actually seeing. That's why folk are now, guys like yourself are going to compare him to Jota. Where they go, well, it'll be interesting to look at Jota's stats at this point when he first came in. And I'm going to, maybe this is my mind playing tricks on me, but I'm going to say that Jota was still dividing opinion at this point when he came in his first season as well. And it wasn't until the tail end of that season that we were saying, right, he's a player. You need to give these boys bedding in time. I hate these football manager experts who give a boy a half for 30 minutes and say, he's absolutely rotten. He's rotten, get him out. That's not how it works. I mean, if you put me out there to tar a road, I couldn't tar a road, but give me 6 months, I could probably make a half decent shift to your driveway.
That's a brilliant analogy. It was someone in the chat had touched on it. It was Palma's ball striking. I wish that's something. I wish we would try our luck from distance a lot more in the Champions League, because we try and pass our way for every team. We try and pass the ball into the net, when sometimes you should probably just take a gamble. I don't know if that's just me, but I think a little deflection or something will give you a bit of luck. And for Celtic to beat some of the teams of the calibre that there is in the Champions League, you do need a bit of luck. So I wish we'd do that a bit more, but I want to stay on the summer signings.
I'll ask you a question, James, about banging the ball for the edge of the box. Right, David Turnbull's out of contract. He's the only midfielder apart from Palma that scores for the edge of the box. Would you give him another contract just because he offers something different for the midfielders that they've already got?
Not just because of that. I would give him a contract because I think David Turnbull's a good enough player anyway. Whether Turnbull will accept the contract, I'm not 100% sure. I think he'll see his future elsewhere if he's not going to be starting regularly. That's just my opinion, though. Do you think Turnbull will be off, Kevin? Do you think we'll see David Turnbull accept a new contract, or do you think he'll have his mind set elsewhere next summer?
I think his time, he's contributing for Celtic, but his time's probably gone, and he's going to have a look at it and go, I'm going to need to move on elsewhere. What I would then say about the other members of the squad is this: they need to learn to bang the ball for the edge of the box like him. The midfielders in there have got to actually develop that into their game. Or either that, we've got to bring somebody in to actually do that, because the Postecoglou thing was we walked the ball into the back of the net. We hardly ever scored any goals from outside the box. Rodgers is slightly different. He had Stuart Armstrong, he had Callum McGregor, who in that midfield could actually, even Olivier Ncham could, was not too bad at banging it for outside the box. And that's something that's missing in that midfield at the moment. Has Matt O'Reilly ever scored a goal from outside the box? I don't think he has.
I just can't believe that you mentioned those players before Tom Rogic when you're talking about a player who can score a goal.
Aye, Aussie Tam, is really like, but that's what Home and that have got to develop. They've got to develop that. The only one that comes naturally at the moment is David Turnbull. But do I expect him to be here this time next season? No. Do I expect him to be here on the 1st of February? It's probably a no.
The one thing that Rodgers has pointed out with summer signings is they are still adapting, as Kevin said. They are still getting used to Scottish football. One of the things I saw him say about Odin Holm was that he needs to bulk up a bit. And the upper body needs to bulk up, which, to deal with the pressure of Scottish football, is something that will have to be done. But we're seeing them more regularly and performing well regularly. But players that we're not seeing, as Mike Nawrocki and Gustav Lagerbielke, they seem to have gone a bit AWOL, which I'm really surprised that we've not seen Mike Nawrocki once since he came back from his injury, because we paid €5 million for his services. It was the most expensive signing of the summer, JP, and we just seen Gustav Lagerbielke was voted the Swedish Allsvenskan's defender of the season. So, and he can't even get on the bench for this Celtic team. So where do you think these guys are? Do you think Rodgers sees them as part of his team for the future?
Aye, absolutely. I think when you go out and you're injured for a period of time, especially with this team, how do you justify dropping Scales and Carter Vickers? You're not dropping Carter Vickers. He's nailed on. Scales is pretty much nailed on his jersey as well with his performances. So maybe it's just because of the size of the squad and they've not been needed that they've not been on the bench. But I think Nawrocki and Lagerbielke will be playing for Celtic at some point in the season. We're going to need them. There's loads of games coming up. It's really, really busy calendar. We've still got 2 Champions League games to go, whether you think they count or not. there's still games that need to be played, and in actual fact, they do count, because it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could still do something. It's a big ask. It's a big ask, especially to go to Rome without Maeda and Palma, which is a double blow. I still can't believe that red card in Madrid. I've not been on the show since that happened, and it's just absolutely unbelievable that we get done like that in Europe for things like that. I was really hoping that when he went over to the screen, he was going to go, nah, okay, I trust my first decision. But you just knew that he was off, and then it adds insult to injury, literally, that he's now out for 6 weeks as a result of not going in hard. Had he gone in hard, they would have been all right, probably. But the fact that he just left his foot up as if to block the ball if the player was going to play the ball, and then their feet clashed, it's just unreal. But so there's lots of games to come. They'll be back in. I don't think either of them have done anything to not warrant being in the squad. It'll probably see Phillips go back to Liverpool in January, and then we'll utilise them because they are our players from January onwards. I'd say that's probably the most likely.
Yeah, I don't think Phillips will be here beyond January, and that'll bump Nawrocki and Lagerbielke a bit up in the pecking order. But nobody could have foresaw the career resurgence that we've seen from Liam Scales this season, Kevin. And he's looking now like he's on the verge of a new contract, which you've got to say is well deserved. He's been, I would say, the best defender at the club this season. That might be a controversial opinion for others, but he's been playing every single game. He's now a consistent member of that first team squad. So it's only right he's rewarded with a new contract.
He deserves it. He's Charlie Mulgrew, ain't he? He's moved back there and absolutely surprised everybody. I'm going to chuck something out there that I know nothing about. I wonder if there's a clause in the contract that Phillips has to be in certain match day squads. And that's why we're not seeing Nawrocki and Lagerbielke.
That's the fifth pronunciation of his name that we've made on this show today. Fifth. I'm just counting. He said it. Nawrocki. Nawrocki. Yeah, that's it.
Nawrocki. Well, you're the Polish guy here, so let's. We've got with you.
He went on Celtic social media and said, "Hi, Celtic fans. This is how to pronounce my name. It's Mike Nawrocki." So, that should kind of end it at that point. It's not because I'm some sort of Polish soothsayer. I just listen to the guy's own words. Do you know?
So I'm wondering if it's something to do with that. I wonder if it's something to do with their fitness as well. And when you look at the options on the bench, maybe the coaching staff have gone, well, if a centre-half gets injured, we've got Phillips here. There's no point putting another centre-half on the bench because we need to cover this position, this position, this position. And also, when you look on Sunday, where did Bernabe appear for? Nobody's seen him for weeks. Has he been
rabbit's hat?
No. Has he been hunting penguins in the Falklands or something like that? Where has he been? Nobody's actually seen him, and all of a sudden he appears. So I sometimes didn't look at the bench as an indicator of who's in favour and who's not. We don't know the decisions that go into it, but I agree with JP that both the two centre halves at the side probably will have a big part to play with Celtic. Liam Scales has completely surprised me. I came on here after the game at Ibrox and says that was his Celtic career. That's going to be the high point of his Celtic career. And the big fella slapped me about the face and gone, "Do you think so, wee man? I actually think that is going to be the highlight of my Celtic career." And he's proven me wrong. It's great. It's a kind of underdog story with him. He was halfway to actually slogging it out at Pittodrie, and now he's kicking about the Champions League, looking like a great defender, looking like a good defender. Maybe going to get a contract that he needs, that he does deserve. Fair play to the big fella. We can't actually argue about what he's actually done for us. I thought he was superb. It's funny saying a defender's superb when you won 6-0. I thought he was superb on Sunday against Aberdeen, and I don't think he's really been at fault in the Champions League either at any point. He's been caught out, but hey, we're a fourth pot team. They're going to get caught out, but
Aye,
it's not
and
one.
a man down against Atletico Madrid.
Aye, there's for me. I've never looked at it and went like that. Oh, he's absolutely terrible at that level. Aye, he's made a few missteps, but I expect guys at our level to actually make the missteps at that level, as long as they just stop making
Carter Vickers
them.
did it against Lazio.
Aye, so fair play to Liam Scales. He's probably the Irishman we all wanted Shane Duffy to be. Aye, fair play to the big Ginger Maldini, man. He's doing well.
Yeah, the way I was going to tell if it was a purple patch or not was by how he would adjust to playing in the Champions League if he'd look out of his depth, and he hasn't. He's taken to it like a duck to water. The only player in the centre defence that I've seen make mistakes, you've seen Lagerbielke make mistakes in Europe, you've seen Carter Vickers make mistakes in Europe. You have not seen any sort of glaring error from Liam Scales that stands out. So I think the new contract would be a perfect reward for him, wouldn't it, JP?
Oh, absolutely. And when Kev did say that about him, I was really, really willing in my heart of hearts for him to prove Kev wrong, because there's something about that guy that I just wanted. I wanted him to do well from the minute he came in the door, probably because of his kind of background and coming from an Irish team. You want players like that to do well for Celtic, and as soon as Brendan Rodgers started talking about him in the pre-season, I was like, I think he likes him and he trusts him. Like it was after a friendly, and I just thought he'd been written off by so many people. I was kind of, by the way, I'd never for a second thought he would become a starting player who we're talking about in terms of Player of the Year patter in mid-November, but I didn't think he was this terrible player that he was being made out to be, that was so far off it with Celtic that he wasn't deserving of getting any included in squads or anything like that. And I don't know, I heard so many good things from my friend who watched him at Aberdeen last season, said he was absolutely brilliant second half of the season, a season where they were an absolute bin fire, getting beat off Darvel and all the rest of it. But he had the endeavour and the bravery to sort of stick that out. I mean, that must have been difficult to be at Aberdeen in that time. Really difficult, but that's one of the things that makes you as a player is adversity, and he's probably used that to his benefit coming back to Celtic, just like other players have that have gone out on loan. We've seen numerous examples of it in the past. So long may it continue in a new contract, which I mentioned kind of nonchalantly, tongue in cheek, a couple of weeks ago, and I think there was some comments sort of saying, "You're talking nonsense, surely not," and all this sort of stuff. But you can't argue with it. How can you? You can't argue with a new contract for somebody that's playing well and that hasn't got many. Is it out of contract at the end of the season?
Yes.
Well, not next season. The season after.
I think Brendan Rodgers said he was uncomfortable about the fact that he was ticking down his contract. So if he's only on, I don't know, $3,000 a week or $5,000 a week or whatever it is he's on, I don't know, and he's performing at the same level and to a higher level than a lot of other players, then he should be on parity with them in terms of their wages. I'm not saying give him something that's going to absolutely dwarf and make it difficult for him to should he have like a bad patch of games or whatever, and it comes to the point where we're looking to sell him, that we can't get rid of him because he's on $20,000 a week or something like that. But he should definitely be rewarded for his performances.
Yeah, I always go back to a game I ended up at last season titled the El Sacico between Hibs and Aberdeen, where I saw Liam Scales concede 6 goals, give away 2 penalties and get sent off. So I was a bit scarred when I saw him step into the fold early on this season, but he's proved everybody wrong. I think part of that's probably down to the fact he's been playing in his correct position as well. He was playing at left back for most of that first season at Celtic. Jungle Lion coming in here just shows you how good Scales has been. Yeah, the fact that Nawrocki and Lagerbielke can't get anywhere near the team, it's because of how good Liam Scales has been. Alan Robertson, his worst display was at left back. I'd absolutely agree with that. I want to bring in a special guest. We have Michael Taggart here. Michael, you're doing a charity challenge. Is it tomorrow you're starting it?
No, well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on today, guys. Great to be part of my first ever podcast, and I'm glad it's Acsom. Familiar faces in there, but we'll get to that. No, I'm here to represent in my role as a joint event lead with the Celtic FC Foundation Supporters Committee. So that's something that started around about 10, 11 years or so ago, and we're basically a group of people, passionate Celtic supporters who support and promote the work that is done with the Celtic FC Foundation themselves. We do that largely, but also we get involved with some of their charity work and some of the projects which I've personally been involved with myself overseas, places like Zambia, and equally pounding the West Highland Way and things like that with the Miles for Meals in conjunction with Mary's Meals and various other partners that we get involved with. But a chief thing, and certainly what we're promoting today, is where we do our own event. And we will be launching, we have launched today right across social media. So keep an eye out. I'm sure you'll see it popping up everywhere. But it's our annual Celtic FC Foundation Supporters Committee. It's quite a mouthful. Our annual dinner, which is hosted for next year. It'll be on Saturday, the 23rd of March at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Glasgow. So we're promoting the fact that tickets are now on sale as for the early bird prices. So get in quick. I believe we will have some links maybe shared on the show today and equally on social media as well. But good opportunity to get together with friends, family, Celtic supporters, whether you're going as an individual and you want to be part of something that could be hopefully up to 500 people attending this year. We've really kind of ramped the numbers up from recent years. It's going to be an event that's going to have lots and lots of different parts to it. There's going to be quite an exciting and very unique short play that we're going to have. We're also going to have some music coming courtesy of Paul Sheridan and the Wakes. So we're delighted to have them. I had to think personally, long and hard, for about 10 seconds who I could reach out to as a DJ to come to. And his show today is such a coincidence, but John Paul Mason is going to be our resident DJ on the night. So that's
I thought you meant me there.
Well,
I thought you meant me.
I'm sorry, Kev. You need to answer your phone. John Paul has kindly taken us up on the opportunity to join us on the night. We're also going to have a host. There's going to be auctions. There's going to be a lovely 3-course meal that's going to be served, and I suppose all the trimmings that come with places like the Crown Plaza. But most importantly, it's going to be a great opportunity to get together, raise some excellent amounts of money for the Celtic FC Foundation, and indeed a number of the different projects which I've seen firsthand what they do. Again, might be some links shared around it. I know one at the moment that was publicised a little bit more yesterday was the Paradise Pit Stop, which is one where 4 days a week at different times, again, information available for it. But it's a welcoming opportunity for anybody to come in, and anybody that needs it, just to go along, spend a little bit of time. No phones, no cameras, no check-ins, nothing like that. Just an opportunity to come in for anyone that needs it to spend some time, get a warm meal, maybe bring the kids along, let them sit and have a play and just take some time out, speak with some people that can actually maybe help you point in the right direction. That's one opportunity that's available for all. But another one that I think that is maybe in my capacity in this new role, I've learned that there are things that are going a bit under the radar, which is available again for all. And I'm speaking beyond just the Celtic supporting community that the Celtic FC Foundation provide. And that's things such as the fuel bank. So that's something that is very simple to apply for in these tough times. Anybody that's needing any sort of support for things such as the paying for fuel, simple as that. Very simple online form. You could be eligible for it, and don't be scared to ask. The worst that could be said is you're not eligible. But if you are eligible, it could help go towards some fuel costs. So these are projects that happen as a result of the work that we do through the Celtic FC Foundation. And as the supporters committee, we're very passionate about trying to get those messages out there, because more people can benefit from it. And I suppose the more need there is, that's a reflection of where we're at in the world today. And I think the likes of what we're going to have at our event, our main flagship event, if you like, as a supporters committee next year, that's really going to help us to make a significant impact. You know, the tables of friends coming together, auctions, fun on the night. There's going to be, we can't tell too many details, but what we do want to do is make sure that everybody gets an understanding there's going to be a great night. So we do look forward to welcoming as many as possible. So that's an intro from me, bit lengthy, but hopefully it's covered a lot.
Well, there's some great work that's been getting done, especially at this time of year where times are so tough for so many people. Where's the best place for the people in the chat to get involved? Where's the best place to find the work and get involved?
Well, I would direct to anybody online in the first instance. I'm happy for anybody to contact me directly. I have shared, I know Paul John's a bit busy today, probably collecting awards or something else that he's, but I did drop him over some notes. John Paul's maybe got some as well with regards to links. So that's in the first instance to get buying your tickets. So Celtic FC Foundation Supporters Committee. It'll be on Twitter, X. You'll find us on Facebook as well. There'll be links on here. And underneath, hopefully, in comments, someone can add in. And that's the best place to start. Do check out the Celtic FC Foundation website as well. So you'll find it through the Celtic website. So lots and lots of potential routes to find opportunities to get involved and support us in whichever way you can. But for today, there should be lots of coverage across social media, because I know everybody's been trying to get their own personal posts out to promote the event for the dinner, and that's something there. Any tweet, retweeting and or re-Xing or whatever it's called these days, and liking and sharing and checking it out, that's much encouraged.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Michael, and sharing with us. If anybody in the comments wants to support a good cause or just come along for a night of fun, please be sure to get involved.
Right. Oh, silly. I was going to say.
Were you going to ask him a question there, James?
Do you want me to bring him back in? Bring him back in?
Bring him back in, James. You sniped him a bit quick.
I should know this, by the way. Me and Michael have known each other since October 1997. So we go back to first year at uni and first day at uni. In fact, see that leprechaun flag he's got behind him? If you've ever watched a Celtic game in the last 20 odd years, you'll have seen that, because that's where it started in his
wow.
That's where it started in his halls of residence room. That's him in B19 in Craig Lockhart Halls with that flag behind him, and I always look out for that at the games. He's said for some bizarre reason he's going to retire it, but I don't think it's quite ready to be retired now, surely.
Well, John Paul's got a photograph or a bus ticket from an event at any point in his life, so I love that. The flag itself, it started around about 1997. It just appeared like leprechauns kind of do, and then 25 years later, I've been taking it along to games. It's something that it's a bit battered and worn and torn. It's been in the North Pole with Celtic matches against Rosenborg and Bodo Glimt and wherever. It's been in Zambia with me when we did the foundation trip over there. It's been all around the world, but most importantly, it comes to games. I do pop it up, and the amount of people that will get in touch, even if it's my own mum or dad or sisters abroad or whoever, and they'll say, "At least I saw you made the game," because they saw this flag hanging over a barrier somewhere. So it can be quite a comforting thing for some people, but it's the one important thing about it is any time that anybody gets their photograph taken with it, everybody's smiling, and there's never a bad picture with the leprechaun flag in it. So it's been on some journeys, and we've had some great experiences with it, and it's been part of it. But I did think about retiring it after we won the treble there with Ange, and then I got a few heartfelt appeals to say, "Go on and do that," because I watch the games and I look out for it. people sitting with their families and kids, and it's the first thing they look for at a match sometimes. So again, it's a bit of fun, but if people want to see it there, I just hope now that if people do see it, they can also associate it with the fact that they maybe still need to go and buy their tickets for this dinner event. That's probably if you see it and you think, oh, that's that guy that does the Celtic FC Foundation supporters committee. Maybe I should go and buy that ticket. So yeah, maybe it'll conjure up some magic with that as well.
I was also going to ask Michael, and I should know this, but it just seems to me that you've been involved with it for ages. But what was your sort of first step with the foundation? Like, how did it begin?
Well, I guess I kind of stumbled a little bit towards it. I've been going home and away, as you know, Europe with Celtic since it feels like forever. And I think it got to a point, and I was about to reach the age of 40 a few years back, and
that's it, yeah.
There was just a kind of inner feeling there that I wanted to do something to mark the occasion, and I just looked at my phone at that very split moment when I was thinking I was on my way to a match, and the Celtic FC Foundation had announced that they were looking for volunteers to get involved and go over to Zambia and get involved with the Mary's Meals and help to make a real difference to the lives of kids that have abject poverty. I mean, real grim situations, and I thought that is going to take me so far out my comfort zone that maybe it's something that I should just go and do, because rather than talk about it, let's do it. So I rather than people take me to the pub or buy me pints or giving you any sort of gift for your 40th birthday, I used it as an opportunity to pull people together, and we raised a lot of money, and it kind of gave me the bug, but it also let me see under the bonnet, as I mentioned, some of these projects that go on both overseas in Africa, and also what's happening locally, as we say, some of these projects more locally in Glasgow and Scotland and Ireland and across the UK. Where the money goes makes such a difference to people. When I'm so passionate about Celtic, I've found myself now being asked to come and join the committee, and I'm passionate about that. Anything that I'm involved with, I want to give 100%. It's all you can give. But that kick-started it, and it's amazing what inspiration you get from it. I found myself that I'd never painted in my life, but suddenly I was drawing pictures of Tommy Burns on the wall of a school classroom in dark as Zambia, and it was just coming to you because you wanted to just do something that was going to help to inspire. And it's these types of moments in your life that you never regret, and you can only see the good that come from them.
Yeah, it's so important at this time of year as well to be getting all that work. And the foundation does so much great work. Is the sleep out coming up soon as well?
Yeah. I believe. Good luck to all the guys. I think the 18th for that. So, I mean, at this time of year, it's tough for everyone. What is great to see is so many different initiatives and people doing what they can in whichever capacity they can to lend a hand. So, good luck to all the guys that are involved with that. And again, we've also got the bucket collection that's coming up, the next home game on the 25th at Motherwell against Motherwell. And there's going to be the Santa. Sorry, I've forgotten the exact name of this. The Santa journey. So basically, that's later in December towards Christmas. So again, there'll be lots and lots of social media activity around that. But do keep an eye out, and yeah, there's plenty there. But it would be great. You asked earlier about how to get involved, joining our mailing lists, subscribing to the Facebook pages and Twitter and so on. It'll keep you up to date. There's lots and lots of activity getting shared, so that's the main thing for anybody that can get involved and support.
I always find it interesting when people have the stories of bringing memorabilia with them all around the world when they're travelling or supporting Celtic. I bumped into someone on the way to the Atletico Madrid game on the bus, an Acsom fan who had a scarf that he'd taken every single game since 1968. It's travelled with him every single Celtic game he's gone to since then. If anybody in the comments has any sort of stories like that, anything, if it's a superstition or something you take around to every single game, be sure to put that in the comments. Kevin, have you got any sort of superstitions or anything of the sort for games?
No, I grew up during the 90s, so my superstitions lasted at least 2 weeks. Then they were done. I'm going to ask: have you washed the flag?
Washed. It's been hung out to dry in the North Pole. It's been washed. It's been cleaned. It's been there's a couple of times. It's made of quite a kind of strange material. I'm not even exactly sure what its DNA is, but I need to get some. It needs some patchwork work done to it to fix it.
It's just by that guy with that scarf in 1968. I know there's some guys didn't wash their scarf during the season because I think it's bad luck. That was something I was told growing up in the 80s. Oh, didn't wash your scarf during the season? It's bad luck. And I'm just wondering if that guy's washed his scarf in 1968.
Well, I was with Michael in Valencia, and I was waiting on him going up to collect that flag. So I'm standing outside the ground, and the next thing I saw this like wall of Spanish police goose stepping towards me with the truncheons and the shields. And I was just standing waiting on him with that flag. And I was like, I'm going to get battered here if I don't move out of the way. So I had to cross the street and move a wee bit down the road just to get away. So that was the flag has been everywhere. And we've been loads of places together. Milan, Amsterdam, Leon. Leon's a story not for lunchtime. Mind that bar, the late night bar. Aye. It wasn't a bar, put it that way. It was something else, and it was very expensive. We didn't stay too long. Aye, a story for another time. But no, it's great to have Michael on, and this is the Michael I've spoken about many a time in the last few years with Paul. This is him. He's not a pal I've made up.
JP, you've started, so you need to finish now. You've started that story about Leon, so you need to finish it now.
That's
the rules.
I think we'll leave that stone on.
I remember John Paul had taken over what was that? Some Celtic alien blow up.
Aye, inflatable alien. Aye, yeah.
And we actually stayed in a hotel called, and this was done by bus. You know, it was old school. It was proper. You know, getting yourself over there. A day and a half on a bus to get there and then get cuffed, and then Henrik Larsson broke his leg actually.
Right. I was there that night as well.
Yeah,
I went on the Paul McStay bus for St Ninians.
Yeah,
to that game.
But we stayed in I'll never forget it because it was a Hotel Celtic. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's one of the options that had come up, and it's like, we'll stay there. You know, why not? Why would you stay anywhere else? Type moment.
Nick said on the bus that it was Hotel Celtic, and none of us believed him because how could we possibly be staying in a Hotel Celtic? But right enough, massive writing above the door. Do you know what? I can actually tell that story because it's funny and it's not anything too mad. We were looking for a late night bar in Leon. We'd been in a pub, and then it was because obviously it was like was it a Thursday night? Would it have been a Thursday night, or was it when UEFA Cup games back then still Tuesdays, or were they? I can't remember.
No, they were Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They weren't Thursday nights.
They weren't Thursdays yet. So it was a Tuesday night, wherever we were in Leon, and a guy said, "Oh, we should go to this bar." So we rocked up at this bar, but it had no signage, which is probably the first giveaway, right? And we knocked up the door, rang the bell. You had to ring a bell to get in. Guy opens the door and goes, "Pas de cravate, pas de cravate," and we were like, "Oh, no, we've got ties on, so we can't get in." We're like, "What sort of gaff is this?" Michael, aged 19, pulls out some money, some cash. He goes, "That's for you, big man." Right, and then the guy goes, "All right," takes the money, lets us in, and then he goes up to the bar and goes, comes back with a round of drinks. Goes, "Sorry, I've set up a tab," and I was like, "No way are we setting up a tab in this bar of all bars. This is going to cost us a fortune." So I goes up, squares up the barman, and then comes back and was like, "That's squared. We're squared now." And then we look over at the dance floor, and there's just girls dancing on their own on the dance floor, no guys. And I was like, "This is a bit suspect in here." So we made our exit quite sharpish after a couple of drinks. I should say. Yeah, I'll let you draw your own conclusions as to what that actual venue was, as opposed to a bar.
We'll leave some of those stones unturned. Michael Lee coming here. Good on you, Michael, for the hard work you do. It's some great work that gets put on. One thing I want to touch on before we wrap up the show, we've got about 5 minutes to go. is the mentality that we've seen from the Celtic team this season. Kevin, there's so many different points this season where the team could have crumbled, whether it be some of the media scrutiny that was happening at the start of the season, the injuries that were starting to mount up, the players were dropping like flies. There's so many opportunities this season where the team could have crumbled, but they didn't. Do you think that's down to the players in the park? And do you think that's down to Brendan Rodgers? Kevin's not listening. I'll put that one to you then, JP.
I know, I do. I think he's come in and with a point to prove, probably to himself and to us. I think he said he came back and he wanted to win, and he's been doing that so far in the main in the league. We've dropped points at home against St Johnstone. I wasn't at that game. I was at the Easter Road game, and I definitely can put that down to a bit of tiredness after Europe. No doubt about it. But I think he's definitely has come back with a point to prove, and that's going to permeate throughout the squad. That mentality that he has and the experience he has with coaching players that aren't fully developed. And I'm sure Michael will agree with that. He goes week in, week out, as much as I try to do as well. But I mean, Michael's there. Michael once said about Willie Gorman that runs the Ardrossan Garryowen CSC. He said if Celtic were playing on the moon, Willie would be looking for a ticket. So Michael's just exactly cut from the same cloth as that. So I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Michael?
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity for Celtic players at the moment. There's nothing better proved than the fact that Liam Scales has come in and made his slot his own. It actually creates a headache, probably a good headache for Brendan Rodgers to actually have to decide who he's going to develop and what positions is a priority to develop at the moment. I think at the moment the opportunity for anybody coming in is, take it. You've got a coach that if he wants to believe in you and he shows that you're getting the attitude that what we need to demand as Celtic supporters to see, he'll back you. He'll invest in you and he'll develop you. Matt Riley's a great example of somebody there at the moment that's really upped his game. We've seen it with Scales. Hopefully we see it with a few more.
Yeah,
guys, we never even spoke about Yang earlier on when you spoke about Yang, and Yang suddenly comes up with a goal when we need it to open the scoring, and then plays well on top of that. And I think I said a couple of weeks ago that he probably would take Yang out until he was ready to put him back in, until he felt like he was at that level that he could put him in and he'll hit the ground running when he goes in, rather than being sort of hesitant or not having any end product or whatever. Because you could obviously see the guy's got something. I mean, people were excited about him at Pittodrie when he came on there, or I don't know if did he start at Pittodrie? I can't remember. Regardless, the way that
he came on and set up.
Yeah, people were excited about him then, and then he kind of just fell away a bit, and then people started saying, "Oh, who have we signed? These guys aren't good enough," and everything else. And it's just, as Brendan Rodgers said, it's about patience and time and allowing players to develop, because they're not just going to switch on like a Christmas tree. They're going to need a bit of time to develop, because they're in a new country, new team, new environment. So I think we're starting to see the benefit of that in recent displays.
Yeah, my main worry about Yang when he was making his first few appearances was that he seemed like a bit of an impact player. He'd perform well from the bench, but in starting roles, the performance levels didn't really seem to match. I think it was when we played away at Fir Park, he was hooked shortly after half-time for James Forrest, because it was an unimpressive first half. But Kev, he's shown over the last few weeks, especially the last two games he started in particular against Ross County and then against Aberdeen at the weekend, that there is a real part to play for him at Celtic.
The boy's got talent, but with wingers they can be inconsistent, especially young wingers when they come into a new country, a new way of playing, when they're still developing. There is going to be games like Fir Park where he's going to get hooked, and even against Aberdeen he was superb for about the first 55 minutes and he dropped out the game. But I would expect that for wingers. You'll have games when Palma won't be as good as what he has been as well. But Yang's got ability. What I like about him, he's got the ability to beat a man. And that's something that our wingers haven't really had for a wee while. He likes, when he was facing up that fullback on Sunday, that fullback was dreading what he was going to do because he didn't have a clue what he was going to do. The boy's got a bit of confidence. The goal would have done him good as well. Now, that's why I was pleased for O as well. He's a striker, he wants to score. And now he's actually managed to get himself on the score sheet as well. It's the same with Yang. Good performances. It's just options that we're going to need, and options. And hopefully these guys develop into like boys that we're going to be bleating about losing in about 2 years' time, hopefully, And that's all. Look, Yang impressed me on Saturday. On Sunday was absolutely fantastic, and I'm looking forward to what he can actually do, what he can actually develop.
Yeah, another of the early worries with Yang was that he would get past the man, but then he'd lose it straight after. I think it was Chris Sutton that was holding in on that point as the flag takes a dive there. I think working with someone like Harry Kewell will have benefited him massively. We saw that with Dies Maida, how far the technical aspect of his game has come. And I think we'll hopefully see something similar with Yang over the next few weeks. But we've ran out of time. We've hit our slot for the Thursday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. Just shy of 600 over the course for almost the full hour. Thank you, JP, for joining me. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Michael, for coming on. Final thing I want to... Our own Jerry Taylor has the second night of his Romeo and Juliet show at the Print House in Ayrshire. His first show was last night. It's going to be 7 p.m. tonight, £15 for a ticket at the door. It should be great fun. So be sure to get along if that's up your street. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Thursday's Acsom Bulletin.
Good luck to Paul.
Good luck, Paul. Good luck, Acsom.